I'm pretty sure it was the most successful fundraiser in all of Jewish history. Moshe and Hashem managed to pull off something that would be possibly unmatched by any future shul. And that is, they managed to raise more than their initial request at their Kol Nidre appeal. I mean, who wouldn't hire them? When Hashem asked Bnei Yisrael to donate to build the Mishkan, men, women, children, everyone responded with immense enthusiasm, with generosity, with a want to give. And the pasuk describes it when it says, "V'hamalacha haisadayim l'kol hamalacha la'asososa," that the funds, that the donations were enough to build that which was necessary for the Mishkan, v'hosir, and there was left over. So what does the pasuk mean? Does it mean that there was the exact right amount that was necessary, or was there extra? Which one was it? So the Ramban explains that it was both, that there was both extra and it was the right amount. Just like an expert craftsman who makes sure that he has extra funds, he has extra materials in order to upkeep the building later. So too, when it came to the Mishkan, Hashem made it that when people donated and there was extras, those extras would be used for the future maintenance and upkeep of the Mishkan. And the pasuk is describing that that's exactly why there was enough. There was enough because there was extra. The Chidushei Arim explains a little bit differently. He says that really there were extras, and those extras weren't going to be used in the Mishkan. The surplus of materials was something that wasn't necessary anymore, and it would have sat on the side unused. And sensitive to human nature, Hashem didn't want people to feel disheartened. He didn't want people to feel upset that their materials, that their donations had gone to waste. And so he orchestrated a miracle that somehow every person's donation, every person's materials and funds that they gave, somehow found its way into the body, into the integrity and structure of the Mishkan. And the Manchester Rosh Yeshiva, Rabbi Yehuda Zev Siegel, explains that very often in life, we're involved in an action. We're involved in the mitzvah. We're trying to work on a character trait. We're davening, we're crying. And we judge the success of those actions based on the immediacy and achievement of results. And when we don't see results, when we don't see answers right away, or even after a period of time, it's very easy for us to feel, what was the point? What did I gain? Was what I did, what was my efforts, was it all a waste? And we see from this episode that Hashem says, no effort, no energy is ever expended for my sake. No work that you ever do for the sake of growth, for the sake of having a relationship with me, is ever a waste. It's never for naught. And that's true whether we're talking based on the Chidushei Arim, who said that Hashem somehow orchestrated a miracle, that all our efforts, all our donations went somewhere. And we might not have understood where in the Mishkan they existed, but somehow those efforts and those donations were put there because Hashem didn't want us to feel like our efforts were a waste. Or like the Ramban, that while the donations might not have been used currently, they might not have been used in the Mishkan at that point, they were set aside for a later date when they would be used for the upkeep and maintenance of the Mishkan. And so when it comes to our actions as well, our actions, our prayers, our efforts, they're never wasted, says Hashem. They're saved for a later date when they'll be pulled out and used and answered, whether or not we'll bear witness to that day. And maybe I thought we can actually see this in the wording of the pasuk, because the pasuk itself says, "V'hamalacha haisadayim." The work was enough. What work? It should say the donations, the funds were enough. It says v'hamalacha. Maybe what it means is that the malacha, our efforts, our energies that were expended to donate and to build, that's what Hashem was saying. That was enough. And not only was it enough, it was extra. Because Hashem's trying to reassure us that we may not always see it and we may not ever witness it. But He wants to tell us that our energies and our efforts, when trying to do the right thing, when trying to connect, when trying to grow, are never a waste. In Yirtzeh Hashem, we should be zocha to see that day when Hashem turns to each and every single one of us and says, Shemati tfilasecha, Shemati, I've heard your prayers, I've heard you, I've seen your efforts, I've seen your toils. Umalachtecha haisadayim b'hosir. Your work has been enough. It's always been enough. Have an amazing Shabbos.